I guess they all wanted to get off of the farm, so they came down, and Uncle Ollie lived there with him for quite a while.
Now, you're related to the Scotts, so when you say Uncle Ollie.
Well, okay, that was Daddy's brother.
Different brother.
Yeah, later.
Family.
Then I don't know, it was around 1930 that Daddy's twin sisters, Aunt Eula and Aunt Beulah, came down to live with him. They all wanted to get off of that farm up there, I guess. And of course, Uncle Bud Scott lived across the street.
And they had a two-story house, if I remember right. Was that originally where they lived, or
The
did they
Scotts.
build that later? The Scotts.
That came much later. The two-story house was moved in there. That came much later. And Mom was born in Fort Myers, and her mother died when she was only about 14 years old. So it was Mom and her dad and two younger brothers. And in about 1930, the dad decided to come up and move up to here. His other brother had wanted him to, had a brother, Jim, that had a fish market on Church Avenue and lived out north of town, Longwood Hills Road, about where that tower is out there.
Oh,
there was
yes.
a little house that sat back under a huge oak tree back there, and that's where Uncle Jim lived. And so when Mom came up here, she was only like a junior in high school, and that's where they lived. And she caught the school bus out at 427, and on the school bus were Daddy's two sisters. So that became very convenient, and it happened that, as young people do, Uncle Bud and Aunt Eula got together, and Daddy and Mom got together, and they were all married, I think, the same year. And they lived in that house that later was Lou Arnold's house. Or later times.
Now, was that on 1792?
That was when Lou Arnold owned the house that is still there now today, and right there, right across on 427, right.
All right.
And they lived there for I don't know how long, but they then moved in. Daddy had gotten into grove caretaking business, and they moved into a large two-story house that was in the grove where Lyman High School sits today.
Oh, yes, okay.
So it was a big two-story house back in the grove there, and that's where all four of the children were born, I guess, back there. Because I have an older brother, myself, and the baby that died that would have been 2 years younger than I am, and then my sister who's 5 years younger.
These are 4 acres now. You're speaking of 4 acres.
Yeah,
that was your maiden name.
That was my maiden name, and we lived there for a long time. We lived there until after the war started, 1942, I guess, maybe. Daddy was able to buy the property across the street, and there was a pasture and an orange grove, and he had 2 mules that lived in the pasture. They were Jack and Queen, and he had a milk cow.
Oh my goodness!
And we lived in a little house that was down in the back of that, which was much smaller than what the big 2-story house. But we lived there for 5 years.
Yes.
And Daddy was still in the grove caretaking business, and he raised hogs, and we raised the corn for them. And one of the stories that Daddy used to always tease me about later, but it wasn't funny at the time, because we raised a lot of corn for the hogs. And then when he'd get them fattened up, that's when he would sell them then. And we must have had over 200 head of hogs back there, close between the house and the railroad track. And one of my jobs was after school to shuck the corn that we'd saved, the dry corn, to shuck the corn and put it in a barrel, cover it with water so that it would swell up.
Oh yes, of course.
Because if you didn't and you fed it to the hogs, it would swell up inside of them, and that would have been bad. So that was our job to do that corn every after. My brother and I did that. And this one day then the hogs started dying. Daddy had the hogs sold, and the man just hadn't come to get them yet, and they started dying, and it was like we might have an old sow with a whole litter of pigs. Every day there would be 10 or 12 more of them dying. Well, at first Daddy said, "You fed them that corn without soaking it. And I said, no. Well, we found out that the hogs had cholera.
Oh my goodness.
That was later after we had buried so many of them back there.
How many did you think died or that you had to bury?
Oh, I don't know, probably 100 of them.
Oh my
it
goodness.
was, we might, oh yeah. I said one day somebody's gonna dig back there and find all those hog bones, you know. But there's that would be a shock, wouldn't it?
Well, that's quite a story,
Well,
Dottie.
yeah, it really was, and of course Daddy got over that. He didn't continue to blame me for that, so I wonder. But no, but he had the hogs. When they first started dying, the man came to get them, and he would not sell them to them. He said, no, they're sick. We don't know what's wrong with them yet at that time, but he would not sell them. And
he was an honest man.
Daddy was, and I remember at his funeral that was one thing that I remember Glenn Payne said about Daddy was that he was an honest man, and he really was. But
now the Paynes lived here
the
at that time.
The Paynes, we knew them, Daddy and Glenn
He
Payne.
had the hardware store, and she was the postmistress.
Right.
And so I would like to get them in on this. But
Yeah,
of course, they're gone.
They're
And I had written a letter, but that's to Tennessee.
Martha and
Where
Glenn.
Martha lives now.
Yeah,
so
up in
I haven't
Tennessee.
had any reply.
Daddy used to go fishing with Glenn when he was just a little guy. As a matter of fact, I have a story that Glenn Payne wrote when he came back, and when he was in Stetson, when he was going to college over at Stetson. It was I guess like a term paper that he had, and it was a story about fishing on the Weehawken.
I have that story. And
And
it's in a clipping from the newspaper.
oh, okay.
And I think I have that story. With a string of fish
Yeah.
and how the fish would jump.
Oh,
Go ahead, tell your story. Do you know it?
well, that wasn't the story there. He wrote the paper about the trips that they made up the Weehawken and over the Great
I
Jessup.
knew the 4 acres and the
Yeah,
Paynes were-
and then they had that
good
one
fishing
picture
buddies.
of those great, and
Yeah.
Walt Wright.
Well, I didn't know that. Either.
He was here. He had
Oh, that's right. He was another one.
right. He would go fish. He only had one leg, I guess, from
Oh.
World War I, maybe that he had an injury, but he would go fishing with them. And one of the stories that I've written in some of my stories that I've been writing, that they were coming back from a fishing trip one day, and on one of these little back roads somewhere, a bobcat ran across the road and had a kitten in her mouth. And she dropped the kitten right on the edge of the road and ran off into the woods. And they stopped, and Daddy said, I'm going to take that kitten home. And Walt said he walked with one crutch, you know, and his one leg and one crutch. And he said, okay, Otis, he said, I'll stand here with this crutch, and if that mama cat comes after us, I'll hit her. And
which was very likely.
But anyway, he brought that. It was just like a little baby kitten, just the most beautiful little cat you would ever want to see. And we raised him, and he loved the warm milk from the old cow that we had. And I know one time we milked the cow and brought it inside on the table, and he got up on the table and knocked it over because he wanted that milk. And Mom used to try to trim his toenails because they were very sharp. He's a wild animal.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
And he would start, he would like to climb the big oak tree we had in the yard. And so after she clipped his claws, he ran outside and started up that tree, and he couldn't climb. And he would never let her get close to him again. So when he got started killing the chickens, that was a natural thing. At first, he would just grab hold of the tail feathers, and they'd pull him all around, you know, because he was just little. But he got to where, when he killed one, we knew then we'd have to get rid of him. So Daddy took him up and gave him to the zoo in Sanford.
Oh, he went to the zoo.
He went to the zoo up there. So
the Sanford Zoo was located downtown.
it was downtown. It was
near the lake
downtown.
there.
And you had Monkey Island and all the things that we all. That was
We had the lion, the roar, every now
That was a good
Sanford in town.
Sunday afternoon visit when we would
That was
go.
one of the main things we did with our
Right, we go to the zoo. Yeah. So that.
Do you remember any of your neighbors then, other than Wright? Well,
The Rowlands lived over on Pineda Street.
No, I forgot.
The Rowlands, there's not any of them that still live here.
Yeah.
The one that we called Monkey, her real name is Marita, does live over at Dunellen. And we've had her at a couple of our class reunions that we've had. And, but all of the Rowlands, they're all most of, there's only the 3 girls that are, of that family that are still living. And, as the last time I talked with Maria. But, yeah, they lived on the next street, and we had, the Luzaters. That's an old name that,
I don't remember that name.
you don't remember the Luzaters? There was just an old man that
Oh,
lived
okay.
there. The Pottingers.
I do remember that name.
And, now another was some of the Prescotts.
Oh, well, yes, I know the rest
Yeah,
of
that lived at the end of the street.
He
And-
drove the school bus.
Okay,
Yeah.
there was several different ones of the Prescotts. There was, and then Bill and Avie Hines and Miss Prescott.
Oh, yeah, the
lived-
Hines.
They lived in the 2-story house on that.
Oh, that's right, I think I did know that.
And that is the same 2-story house that Aunt Eula and Uncle Bud
Finally moved
moved
into.
down back of the
That's the one
garage.
I asked about.
Right,
Mhm.
right, so that
Yeah.
was,
That was there a long time. It was recent. It seemed to me fairly recently that they finally got rid of that.
Oh, that was a long time ago. And that, I don't
Yeah.
remember what year it was, but it was a long time ago, yeah.
Well, I just wondered if you remembered and if I would remember.
Yeah,
Well, you know, when I came here and married Fred and moved here, I got acquainted with a lot of the folks because my mother-in-law wanted me to be in the woman's club.
Right,
She was the
right.
charter member, and her
Right.
mother before. her.
right,
And she, of course, was a native of Longwood, and Mrs. Weissline. So
yeah.
I had to go ahead and get in the woman's club, but I wanted
But
to.
you-
And I did.
You did, and
But I
I'm
met
sure-
a lot of people in
Yeah.
Longwood that way.
Well, Mom never did get out, and it seemed like that she was always busy at home, and she
Yes.
never got out and got
Well,
involved.
she certainly had enough to do, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
and she did when we were in school down at Lyman. Well, she was a room mother, and she would go with us on trips. and
Okay,
things, so
yeah.
She got involved with
Do
the
you remember
school.
how many churches and schools we had besides Lyman, of course, which is our high school? Before
Well, that was the only school that we
We
had.
had
And
any elementary schools or?
the elementary school, Lyman was all 12 grades until I think in I graduated in 51, and it was after that they built onto the school there, and I think it wasn't until 1960 when the first elementary school
Yeah,
opened.
I'm trying to think because that happened with me when I taught school
Longwood
at
Elementary.
Lyman. I was still there.
Longwood Elementary was built, I think, and opened in 1960.
Yes, I think you're about
And
right.
Aunt Eula Eula Scott was president of the PTA there.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
because
Well, I remember that I taught there 1 year only
okay,
at Lyman, and it was still first through 12th grades.
right,
And I had a little problem with letting my children up in, if they had a basement room,
right.
and tried to get them up to the bathroom and back before the classes would change. And Tom Jackson was always in there smoking cigarettes in the bathroom. He said, "Mrs. Weissline, you're not supposed to be in it." And I had a boy, you remember do you remember oh my goodness gracious, Chucky Dudley?
Oh, yeah.
Because he was, you know,
yeah,
paralyzed
sure,
with the waist
right,
down
right.
in the middle of the waist.
Sweet,
And I had to
sweet.
hit him under the armpits and haul him
Yeah.
up the stairs.
Oh, my
And then put him in another wooden chair we had with casters on it. Eleanor Winkle had him in first grade.
Oh, my
And she
goodness.
had put a little wooden chair with casters to roll him in.
To roll in
And I
around.
had to do that to get him down to the bathroom, and I got that chair from her for second grade. And so I had to roll him down to the bathroom, we would almost never make the time. But anyway, I remember that.
Yeah.
And that was virtually, my last time at Lyman. I only taught for 1 year. And then I stopped a while to have some more family.
Yeah.
But I do remember that.
Yeah.
And then they started building the elementary schools.
Right,
So Walter was in a private kindergarten for a little while.
yeah.
Without being
Well, after that, I don't know what year then Altamont Elementary was built, but
Yes.
then we started growing.
I think Castleberry was first, if I remember.
Castleberry could have been first. I don't
think in
remember.
the county,
And,
elementary, and then they built them all like the same way with Owen Kelly,
yeah,
architect,
yeah, so then
and
we-
Jennifer was his wife. So, but anyway, I recall the same era that you're speaking of.
Right.
And that.
Well, Lyman was, and this always, we only had 12 in our graduating class.
Yeah.
And I think my brother's class, Gene, had 9 in his class.
I think Fred's was 11.
But after that, it started growing.
Yes.
After 51, 52, 53, they just started getting bigger all the time. But we were the only school for all of South Seminole County.
And then Oviedo had a school.
Well, Oviedo had an elementary.
Ultimately, Oh, just elementary?
They had a high school, no,
That's
Oviedo had a high
what I
school.
thought.
There was Lyman, Oviedo,
And Sanford.
Sanford, and then there was Crooms.
Oh, yes, that was
And
for the blind.
that's where, and all at
Well,
that
after the
time,
Americans,
right.
So
They
that's all
all-
they had.
they all went,
They had to go to one of those schools, is all they had.
that
Think how many they have now, how many high schools we have now.
well, you figure
Amazing,
that
isn't
the
it?
first one, I guess, that came off of, from Lyman was Lake Brantley.
Yes,
And
that's
then
right.
it was Lake Howell, and then Lake Mary, so all those high schools, and they all have around 2,000 students today, and that's,
That's amazing, isn't
it
it?
is.
The growth is amazing.
Growth has
Do you
been-
remember, did your mother shop in Longwood, or did she actually go into the county seat?
Well-
Because Sanford did the county seat to shop. I recall that we went into Sanford to do our banking.
Yeah,
We went to church there.
we're going one
We
back.
basically went to Sanford for almost everything.
Yeah, well, the church was here on Warren, we had
Mhm.
it right down the
Yeah.
road here.
That's true.
The old church, and that we went to, but we would go into Sanford. A man by the name of Mr. Price had a store right on the corner of Sanford Avenue and 25th Street.
Yes.
And we'd go there, and then there was another one
I
down.
wonder where the Big and Whistle was. So
Well, it was on over
On the
towards
other-
Sanford
okay,
Avenue.
yeah.
The-
Oh, yes.
Yeah, just a little over from that. And we'd go in there, and I think Daddy worked in there part-time with him. I guess at that time you worked wherever you could find a job. You
Oh,
know, there
yeah.
was just not one, he never was one to do just one thing until he
Uh-huh.
got in the construction business,
Uh-huh.
road
Well,
construction.
that was what I was going to ask about him, what he did later.
Well, he did.
Construction was what I thought.
Right, he did the orange groves, you know,
Yeah.
dusting and spraying and everything. It was because we had a lot of orange groves there. And then he got into paving and had a construction business there
Mhm.
until 1960 when Hurricane Donna put so much of us underwater.
Mhm.
And that was a disastrous year for him then, so. But he, you know, after a while he came out of that. And then later he had the opportunity to get a bottling company, and he ran
That I do remember now.
off of out towards San
Then I
Leandro
forgot
Springs.
about it.
Right, he ran that bottling company
Yeah,
then for
I do
quite
remember that.
a number of years. Made and sold Chocolate Soldier, and also the
Chocolate
Yoo-Hoo.
Soldier.
And Yoo-Hoo, that was the two drink. And Yoo-Hoo is still in the market today, so.
All right,
it's
well, I want to know how you and Jim got met
Oh, my
each
goodness.
other. How you met him? How did you meet
Well,
up with him?
You know, we didn't have a lot of opportunity when we got out of high school.
I know, did you leave after?
No,
You stayed here in town?
I stayed here, and most everybody here worked at San Leandro Springs that first summer, you know, that was a big thing, and, well, it was about the only thing going, you know. And I went to 1 year of business school up in Sanford, and then, a man that had rented our little house that Daddy had over on Pineda Street, happened to be the civilian personnel officer out at the Naval Air Station. Now, I was only 18 at the time, and, you know, you'd never been anywhere hardly out of Longwood, and, but anyway, he had a position, it was called a mail and file clerk. And that's all you did was the mail and file. It was a very a lot of people thought it was a monotonous job.
Yeah.
But he wanted to know if I would like to have that job. I had to take a test for it to get certified. You
Well,
know.
it's civil, isn't it? I guess.
It was a federal job,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
it was, so he had me come out to the base, and he sat down on a table like this and gave me the test. I was the only one that took it, and so I passed
You got
it.
the job.
But he had interviewed a number of people, but no one wanted the job because it did tend to be pretty monotonous. But I found it very interesting. I got to read all the official mail of the
Well, yeah,
base and got to know a
I
lot
think
of
that would
people.
be very nice.
And it happened that Jim was had been transferred down here about 5 months before I started work out there in August of '52, and his office was right next door to mine, but he was in a totally different military project. It was called Project Hare, H-A-I-R. But anyway, that was where I first met him.
Uh-huh.
But he was 23 years old, and I thought he was old.
Well,
So,
older than you were.
I
at
was
that
a lot
time. You
older than I
thought
was.
probably-
But anyway, after he got transferred, he started, the first thing that I got was I opened mail from, addressed to the commanding officer of Naval Air Station. And when I opened it and unfolded this, here's a little note slips out of it that says, "Hi, Dot." And I thought, oh my word, where did this come from? Well, he'd been transferred to Naval Air Station Jacksonville. He knew I was one going to be opening the mail. He had put that note in the mail.
What if somebody else found it?
Well, I know, but I found it anyway.
Oh my goodness.
So this started a 10-year writing.
10
and
years?
It was 10 years before we got married.
My
So, but we kept in touch. He had a life, and I had a, but neither one of us ever married. And it was 10 years, almost to the month that we got married in 1962.
Did you marry here?
We got married here at the First Baptist Church in
okay.
Sanford. 'Cause
Oh, in Sanford.
Yeah, I was going to the church in
Yeah,
Sanford then,
uh-huh.
and because there just wasn't any young people out this way at that
And
time.
you have 2 children.
Have 2
Paul
children,
and
Paul
Sally.
and Sally.
And a grandchild. Now, is that just the one you have?
I have,
Paul
no,
have
we have,
children?
Paul has
Paul
4,
has
and
2.
Paul has 3 little boys,
3.
and Sally has
That's
one.
one. Mhm.
One that's just started college in Overland Park,
That's hard
Kansas.
to realize. That started college, my goodness.
I know,
I
it's
think
so,
of Paul, and I knew him as a young boy. Well,
Yeah.
Sally too.
Well,
She was little.
Paul is here
Hard to realize.
with Longwood Fire Rescue, and he loves what he does here.
Well,
So
he's
that's,
very good at it. too.
yeah, I understand. Everybody, we hear so many nice things
I do
about that.
hear about Paul, and all these years I've had these problems with Fred, whenever I had to call 911, sometimes Paul would
Paul
be
would
with
show, he would show up sometime, yes. He's a matter of fact, he's on
Although
duty
to
today.
me, he would, growing up, I wouldn't always recognize him, and I'd be upset or worried by him.
And he
said,
said-
"This is my son?"
He,
Paul, I was like,
I
oh,
know,
Paul.
I
I
know.
didn't know
He
you so
said
well.
he didn't always, and he's met a lot of people that, I know that he knew, but
Yeah.
like he said, they take care of
Realize.
business,
Yeah.
and he doesn't get in personal conversations always,
No.
unless he just,
So they're living here nearby now?
Paul lives on the next street over from
Oh,
us,
that's
which
good. So they're
he's
close by.
close by, so he can help to look after us.
Sally has moved away.
She moved to Kansas.
Kansas, I thought.
Yeah, she's in Overland Park, Kansas, which is a suburb of Kansas City, and her husband's with the Sprint Corporation
Do
there.
you get to see her often, or you go up there
Well,
to see her?
I've been up there 2 or 3 times,
Mhm.
and they come down. They were both here this year. Chandler
Mhm.
came down in January before he started back to his second semester in school,
Okay.
so. he's
Now, you
still-
know, we interviewed Glenn, your cousin, I
Yeah.
mentioned earlier that you're related, recently, Glenn Scott. And I was wondering, are there other relatives close by that I don't know about, or some of the Scotts, most of them have gone, I know Susan, he told me a little bit about the family.
Susan lives up in Lake Mary, or close to Lake
She's
Mary.
still
High School.
fairly close by.
She is fairly close by.
But do you
and-
have any other relatives nearby, or anyone else other than your children, Paul and his family?
No, well, my sister's over there. She
Oh, your
lives.
sister?
She lives in Lake Mary. She lives.
Her
and
name is?
Frances.
Frances.
Frances
I knew
Belial.
that.
Right, and she owns both houses. Mom lives in one house. Now, Mom is 97, and she is, you know,
I would love to get
I
her on
know,
camera
I
and have
would,
her talk
you-
with us if you
well,
would.
probably the only way you would do that would be to go to her house,
I
because
know.
she doesn't get out very
Well,
much.
you know, we started doing this, going to the homes,
Yeah.
people we interview, and we were going to, and then somehow we got said, well, you know, we have a meeting every other Wednesday,
Right.
we're there, we'll just have you come to the house.
Yeah.
But I didn't know we were gonna freeze to death today, I wouldn't have suggested.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I know. But we won't be much longer, but I was asking you about your relatives, and I just wondered.
Yeah, that's about the only
Anybody
one.
else
Let's see, who else lives
That's
around
left, you know,
here?
any old timers left that you know of? Anybody you know,
Oh,
you know,
yeah, well,
we're
that's
talking about.
what Mama
here.
says. She says there's not anybody that my
Used
age
to be.
that lives here
Okay.
anymore.
Well,
Well,
Fern Frayne is what she used to be.
Right, the Whiteheads. Now,
Whiteheads.
Marcy Winkle still lives here,
Oh, that's right.
and she lives. Of course, they live down by close to Lyman School, and
I saw Eleanor at the beauty parlor one day, and I said, I knew your mother, and I went to school, taught school with her.
Eleanor
And,
Winkle, she
Sue,
was.
yeah.
Yes, okay. Yeah, But they live here, and Marcy's lives over, actually in the old, where the Winkles
And
did
Liz
live.
Marcy, I haven't seen her in
She
years.
has a lot of health issues,
Oh,
but
sure.
she does,
Well,
but,
I'm glad to know that there are a few people.
right,
around.
there's
I'm
a
trying to make a list of, I have started a list of names of people, and I probably won't get everybody, but I'm trying to get most of the time
Yeah.
to older folks who lived in Longwood.
Well, I'm trying to think of
early
who.
on.
Well, Betty Lou and Ellis King, they are.
Oh, the Kings, that's
Yeah,
right.
well, I go back to the ones that we've had for our,
Ellis. Oh, my
reunions
goodness.
when
Why
we
did I
had-
think of him?
yeah,
Oh,
now
right.
Ellis, they live right there on Main,
I think
not Main,
I
they
think
live.
he'd be willing to do an interview.
Oh,
with
I'm
you.
sure he would.
All right.
Oh,
They
yeah.
live near you?
They live on,
I see
what's
them
the
walking.
what's the same street that, Main Street?
Name.
Main, same one
I
that
see
the
them
Whiteheads.
walking, don't I? Did
Yes,
see
you do,
them walking
yeah, they
one
walk
day?
a lot, yes.
Okay, I'll have to try to see.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try to
Alice,
remember
and
their
let's see
name.
who else comes. Of course, now Clyde Walker's
Oh.
over at New Smyrna, and so is Nan.
Nan, I know, and I wrote a letter to Hal, just in case he might be willing to come back and do an interview, but he's up in, Sorrento or somewhere. Hal Freeman,
Oh,
Nan's son, you know,
Yeah.
she has two sons, well, no, Brad's the older. But anyway, I was kidding. But I want to try to get either one of them or some of them, Nan or Hal, or someone in their family.
well, didn't one of them write a book about Longwood?
Well, Hal did.
I've never seen it, but I know.
He never produced, he never really finished it.
Oh, we never finished
No,
it.
he got started with it, but he never really
Never,
finished it.
okay,
And it's a shame because they have a lot of good history.
Yeah.
I have the write-up of an
Well, now,
interview they did.
the Polonians are here
And the
too.
Polonians, that's good.
Yeah,
Thank you for reminding me.
they're,
I have them on my list. I
Uh,
need to talk to them, the Polonians.
and, there's just Johnny and, Gladys is down. Bill
Yeah.
passed away, but Gladys is still
Yeah.
out there. And, let's see,
Okay.
who else have we had at our reunions that
I wish you would have another reunion.
I wish we would too, but.
Of course, Fred's gone. I mean,
Yeah,
I love
but
that
we
name.
had a lot of,
But there's a few people around still that might like to get together. We used to have what we call rope
another
timers.
one is Harry Beckham.
Oh, yes.
Harry Beckham, I'm trying to think, who worked with us on that was so good? And Harry keeps up with so many people.
Well, you know, I know Lib worked real hard with a couple of those.
Yes, she did, yes, she did.
Debacle.
We would.
And then another one was, I forgot his name, can't say it right now. But it'll come to me later, but,
Yeah.
but anyway, we did have some good reunions.
Oh, yes, they
And,
were
you know,
wonderful.
like I said, I taught Atlanta 1 year.
Right,
And so, because I taught, because I was on the faculty, I consider myself an alum,
there you
you
go.
know, you might say. And of course, Fred, like you, Fred grew up in the
Sure,
went to
sure.
First
Yeah.
through 12.
Oh,
and John.
Another one
Lana.
that lived here is Newt Goodall, have you?
Oh, yes, I think I had him on my list, but just in
Okay,
case I don't.
Newt would, Longwood history, he knows about that.
That's good.
Yeah, he is, he
Is
stops.
he's still here in Longwood.
Yeah, his wife died a few years ago.
Oh, that's
And
right, I
he's-
knew that.
Yeah, Alice,
Yeah.
and, he knows all about Longwood from the old days, you know.
Why don't we just do something about getting some of us together sometime?
Well, you know, we've even thought about doing that, just doing something, say, okay, we're just gonna meet at the
Patio grill.
patio, and I tell you, the patio in Sanford has a nice
I
room.
just went there to a meeting the other day, it's very nice.
We've had several
Yeah.
Sunday school class meetings there,
Yeah.
and the ladies
That
really.
separate room where you could go in.
Yes, and we make reservations for it.
Well, let's get back to our interview and finish it up if we can here.
You got 5 minutes. If
5
you want.
minutes,
I could
okay.
put in another tape if you want to do one.
No, I think we'll just finish up right here, right now, honey. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Dottie, I just was going to say thank you so much for coming today, and appreciate it so much. And I want to know, if you know, there anything else you'd like to talk about quickly before we have to finish up? Anything you'd like to say?
Well, it's just that Longwood has changed so much over the years. It's hard to really imagine the same. I said, we remember 427 when it was just a little brick road, you know.
That's
and
right.
You just, we would, on Sunday afternoon, we'd play. We'd
Mhm.
draw our hopscotch out on the bricks, you know, and we could
Yes.
play out there because there'd be one car every 30 minutes or so come by.
Molly doesn't know about all that.
Those are the
And
stories that are neat. Those
That
are the
was,
stories we want.
and that's what we would do, and we would walk down to where Donald and Marcy lived down And we might go over to the school and play a little, somebody would have a basketball or some kind of a ball, and we would play little on the clay courts that we had over at the school. Or they'd gather over in our cow pasture and we'd play a little softball out there.
Yeah.
And it seemed like the Rolands, between the Rolands and the Carters and the Largents. And there must be some of the Largents still around. It was
The Largents, that's another.
Now,
family.
Mary Lee is still out here. She lives with her daughter out west of town here.
Mary Lee
She's Mary Lee Brown now.
Brown.
And
She was a Largent?
She was a Largent.
Yeah, okay.
Bernetta's up in Tallahassee.
I may
somewhere.
give you a call because I can't remember some of these people.
Oh, that's okay. And I
When
may
we
have,
married, it
I
was
may
in
have
49.
told-
We moved here in 50, and that's quite a long time that I've been here.
yeah.
But I'm not a native, and of course Fred's gone, so I don't always remember all these old.
Well, a lot of these things happened before the 50s, and I said we remember then the, oh goodness, we had a dirt road that went from the 427 down to the, and we called it the hard road. We'd go up and play on the hard road. Now that's, people that didn't live here didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. We had a great childhood. We were all, I guess we were considered by today's standards, we were poor, but we didn't know it.
You didn't know it, you were happy.
Everybody else was
You were
too.
happy.
We were
You did well,
happy, and
you had
everyone
food on
else.
the table.
There you go.
And good parents.
That is one thing we always had was plenty of
Thank
food.
you so much for today's
Okay,
interview.
you're quite welcome. This has been
Very
fun.
nice interview.
Very, very
I
fun.
enjoyed it, every
Thank
bit
you
of
so
it.
much.
Thank you, Dottie.
Okay.
Okay, that's it.